We're going to go over the whole buying process from step one to keys in your hands. For those of you that don't know who I am, I'm John Klick, licensed real estate broker with Compass, and I'll let these other gentlemen introduce themselves.
Good evening, guys. My name is Imran. I'm the founder of ARK Attorneys. My partner Julia Measure is here, and we also own Atlas Title and Escrow.
Awesome. Hey everyone, my name is Filin. I'm a senior vice president with Guaranteed Rate, focusing on residential lending, and we'll dive right into it.
All right. So the buying process can sound complicated and very difficult, but let's explain it through a story. So let's meet Denise and Michael. They are deciding, should they rent or should they buy? So a lot of people rent right now and they're intimidated. They're not sure if they should take that next step towards renting because they have a set monthly payment, and buying sounds scary because it's like $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, so on. So let's take a look at the numbers, and I'll go over briefly and Alex will talk more specific. But let's say they're currently renting a place in Old Town. As you know, Old Town, these are the prices. You got rent $2,750, $250 a month in parking. That's a 1 bed, 1 den, 1 bathroom, 950 square foot apartment. Awesome, looks great. You're paying the landlord. While they're out on a walk, they see a place for sale. This place is 1226 West Melrose. This is a 2 bed, 2 bath, 1,200 square foot, so it's bigger. It's got a private patio and it has a garage parking space. Their mortgage payments, everything would be about $3,200 a month. In this case, it's a little bit more expensive, but they'd be owning it. So they get to thinking all these questions right here. And I'll let Alex take it from here.
Awesome. Appreciate it, John. So, as you can see, all these questions. Can we get pre-approved for a mortgage? Is our monthly payment going to be higher than our rent? John kind of touched base on that, right? Are we going to have enough money for a down payment? These are all questions that usually goes through everyone's minds here, right? So let's dive into it. So, what makes up a monthly payment? I think that's extremely important to start out with. So obviously the mortgage, right, which is your loan amount, right, and the interest rate is your principal and interest payment. Taxes, right, death and property, you always pay taxes, right? Those two things are guaranteed. HOA fees, this is homeowners association. So if you're buying a condo, right, there's an association. You're gonna have to pay a fee for that. If you're buying a townhome, usually there's an association. Single family homes, majority of the time, do not have associations unless you're living in a certain community and they're relatively low. Homeowners insurance, this is actually something you have to get on your own through a property and casualty agent, State Farm, Allstate, Progressive, Baker Mayfield, not sure who's he gonna sign with. If you follow football, that's kind of funny, not really. PMI, private mortgage insurance. Private mortgage insurance, a lot of people are nervous and scared of it because we hear a lot of horror stories from our parents. We gotta put 20% down, we're gonna pay this evil PMI, right? Well, private mortgage insurance, you have to pay a fee if you put less than 20% down. With rates being low, PMI is relatively low as well. A lot of individuals are putting less than 20% down. So let's look at a couple payment breakdowns, right? So 5% down. So if somebody's buying a $465,000 property, they're putting 5% down. Their loan amount is $441,750. Okay, interest rates have gone up, right? In the last 90 days, they've gone from low 3s to now we're in the mid 4s. It's a hot topic, it's out there. I don't control rates, John doesn't control rates.
Wish
right?
I could.
Rates are rates. So today they're at 4.5, and I did literally price it today. So we're going off today's rates that are live. So if somebody bought a home for 5% down, their principal and interest payment, as you can see there, would be $2,238 a month. Their taxes would be $595 a month. HOA fees for this property, $198. Homeowners insurance is an estimate of $50 a month because you have to get homeowners insurance on your own. And here's a good example of somebody paying PMI, $121 a month for 5% down if their credit score is 740. So something to keep in mind. If we look at the next slide, we're going to look at 10% down. So 10% down, obviously you're putting $46,500 down. Your loan amount goes down to $418,500, interest rate stays the same. Obviously, the principal and interest payment's a little bit lower at $2,120. Taxes, HOA fees, and homeowners insurance all stay the same regardless of your down payment. And then as you could see there, the PMI went down a little bit, right? $27 to be exact for you putting 5% down extra, okay? So the total payment there is $3,057. And the last example we're gonna show is 20% down, right? What most people think they have to put down. And to be clear, you could put as little as 3% down on a property that you occupy and live in. So 20% down, down payment goes to $93,000, loan amount goes down to $372. Interest rate stays the same, principal and interest payment goes down to $1,885. Taxes, HOA, and homeowners insurance again stay the same. And as if you notice, there is no PMI right here. So obviously the payment is significantly less, $2,728. Now, let's take a look at all three of them combined. 5%, 10%, 20% down, right? All of them are great options, right? I'll be very vulnerable. My first condo I bought in 2012, I put 5% down. The dream home I bought with my family 18 months ago, I put 10% down. Personally, I don't believe 20% is needed. Rates are still low, right? Think about it this way. Instead of putting more money down, can you take the extra money and put it in any other vehicle? Mutual funds, maybe not the last 4 months, right? But a good time to buy in. Crypto, right? NFTs, whatever vehicle that is, can it earn more than whatever your interest rate is? That's just something to think about. A lot of wealthy individuals leverage money. This is one of the biggest loans you'll ever take in your life. Why give a lot of your money to the bank? Keep as much as you can, give as little as you can, as long as you could comfortably afford the payment, and then take your money somewhere else to make a lot more of it for you, your family, generations down the road. I used to be a financial advisor, so that's just my opinion. So you can see the different options there.
County 101, money now is worth more than money later, especially with the inflation we're having.
Exactly, exactly. So renting versus buying, this one's pretty simple, right? To be clear, there's nothing wrong with renting. I rented for 4 years before I bought my first property. I rented for 3.5 years before I bought my second property, in between, right? But at the end of the day, if you're renting, you are paying the landlord's mortgage. If you own, you're paying your own mortgage. It's as simple as that, okay? Next slide. Allotted bonus to buying tax benefits. We really can't talk about it. Anyone an accountant here? Nope, but there's some tax benefits. Talk to your accountant, please. Build wealth and equity. I have yet to meet a very successful, wealthy person that does not own real estate. Have you? Okay, no. I'm pretty sure, right? So pride of ownership, to me, that's huge. I am an immigrant. Owning a home is extremely important to me. When I got it first, it was big time for me. I'm sure for a lot of individuals in here as well. And then pets, neon walls, your rules. As long as you're not in a huge condo building with a lot of rules, if you own a home, you could pretty much do whatever you want and don't have to ask questions.
All right, so let's talk about your path to home ownership. First, the market right now. So I'm sure you've heard in the news, everything, inventory is very low, interest rates are going up. So now is a great time to buy, to get ahead of that if you can find the right place for you. Consulting with an expert, I mean, that's why you're here, right? To get the education that you need. It's really important to follow these steps. So the first 2 steps is meeting with a realtor and getting your loan pre-approval. So when you meet with me, we're gonna go over everything in the buying process. What do you want? What are you trying to accomplish? Are you renting right now and you don't wanna pay your landlord anymore and you wanna pay yourself? Are you interested in investing and getting income? Buying your own multifamily place where they're gonna be paying you and you're the landlord and you're gaining income. Do you want something that's move-in ready, turnkey? Are you willing to do some work and put in some sweat equity? There's so many options. Are you okay living in a condo where you're gonna be paying an HOA, yes, but you don't have to do any work, you don't have to worry about anything. So when we do our initial consultation, as I've done with some of you here, we're gonna go through all of these factors and more. And the key to that is finding what you need in a house so that when we go out looking, we're not wasting time. No one wants to waste time or headache. You want to have the right place. Sometimes you get on the first time. I've gone on some tours. The first house, they loved it, they bought it because we had this consultation and we had our goals in mind. Some people take 16, some people somewhere in the middle. I've had people buy a place sight unseen, just doing it on FaceTime tours. So it's really just finding your goals and being able to accomplish them. And in order to do that, we need to know your budget. The great thing working with me is free because I'm sure you've heard real estate commission, all that. That's paid by the seller. So there's no downside at all with working with a buyer's agent. The next thing is getting your loan pre-approval so we know how much you can afford. Alex, take it away.
Awesome, thank you. So as you can see, step 2 here is going through the pre-approval process. We're in 2022. You could literally get it pre-approved on your cell phone nowadays, right? Everything is digital. We don't take applications over the phone. Those days are done. You literally, whether it's midnight, 6 a.m., during the day, you're at work, you're filling out the pre-approval questionnaire. It literally takes anywhere between 12 and 15 minutes to do that. Once that is complete, we actually schedule about a 30-minute phone call to discuss 3 main aspects: cash, credit, and income. How much cash do you have for down payment? What is your income? And where is your credit standing, right? Once we understand all 3, then we discuss the most important thing, which is what is your ideal comfortable monthly mortgage payment? And where are you drawing the line in the sand of saying, I don't want to go over X per month? Once I understand that, it allows me to reverse engineer everything and provide you numbers so you could stay within your comfortable monthly mortgage payment. Once you're pre-approved, just so you know, the pre-approval is good for 120 days, okay? And that's directly tied to when your credit is requested. So as soon as we request your credit, that credit report's good for 120 days, meaning if you close within that 120 days, we don't need a new credit report. Right? Now, when it comes to documents, a lot of people have questions. What documents do we need? It's a lot easier nowadays in 2022. So if we could go to the next slide, we'll talk about the documents. If you are salaried, right, all we need is your last 2 pay stubs. It's really your last year W-2. It's changed recently, not your last 2. And then your last 30 days of money. We want to see the transactions in your bank account, what's going on there. If you are self-employed, right, there's a lot of issues in this space because your accountants are too good, per se. But we need your last 2 years of tax returns. That's how we can determine income, okay? So whether you're self-employed, salary, and there are individuals in between, hourly, we need a minimum year there. If you're bonus or commission, we need a 2-year history to count bonus or commission. So just something to keep in mind, and keep in mind as well. This is an overview. Right? We obviously don't know what everyone does here for a living. How do you get paid? What's your credit score? How much do you have to put down for a down payment? So we're just doing an overview, and then obviously after we connect one-on-one for specifics. But the good part is once you're pre-approved, that's when the fun starts, in my opinion, because you get to go see homes with John.
All right, and that's where we go. The first step, after we dial in on what you want and what you can afford, we're gonna build a collection of properties that interest you. So you download the Compass app, and in there you can favorite what you like, disinterested, delete them, and then we'll arrange a tour. And on the tour, we'll check out the properties in person to see if they match up what you see online. Obviously everything starts online, but you got to get your boots on the ground and see the place. And after we see a few places, or maybe one, however many it takes, and you find the dream one for you, we're gonna make an offer. And right now, there's a lot of different terms that matter. Obviously, everyone thinks only price, but there are other terms as well. How much earnest money can you put down? What other contingencies you have in terms of the mortgage contingency? Obviously, Alex helps with that. What closing date? Sometimes a flexible closing date can get the deal done for you, even if you have less money for the purchase price. So it's very important to negotiate not just the price, but all the terms. Sometimes you're in a highest and best situation, you gotta do what's called an escalation clause, where if there's other offers, for example, if you offered $590,000 and there's other offers and you really want this place up to, you crunch the numbers, everything, it's worth $605,000 to you, you can do an escalation clause where, hey, we offered $590,000, if someone else offers anything else up to $600,000, we'll beat that by $5,000. So that way you're not negotiating against yourself. And these are kind of the pro tips that help you win your bid. Once you get an accepted contract, you sign off on it, the seller signs off on it, you're gonna give the earnest money within 2 business days, and that solidifies the contract. And you have an executed purchase agreement. And you enter into one of the most important parts of the deal, if not the most important, would be the attorney review and inspection. So I'm gonna bring Imran up here to talk a little bit about the attorney review.
Thank you, John, for the introduction. Great job. So guys, my first discussion to you is that with the market being so hot and so busy, we have had a lot of non-traditional attorneys enter the real estate market. So we've had bankruptcy attorneys, we've had family law attorneys, we've had other types of attorneys entering into the real estate market. It's very important that your team and your attorney does this on a day-to-day basis. So, for example, we focus exclusively on real estate law. You don't want a divorce attorney doing your real estate law transaction because they might be in court all day, which is completely fine, but they have timelines and contingencies that have to be met. So let's talk about these timelines and contingencies. The first contingency is called attorney review. That means we have 5 business days, Saturday is not a business day, to respond and modify the contract. What are the things we're looking for, right? When you hire a firm or a lawyer to do your attorney review, the burden and the contingencies fall on your attorney. So the consumer, the clients, the buyers should not worry about timelines and deadlines. That's the purpose of paying us, essentially. So what's in the attorney review? We are looking for, number 1, are all the personal property included in the contract? Personal property means stove, refrigerator, microwave, dishwasher. The number 1 thing I look, because we look here, is that our team is trained, are curtains involved? You know, sometimes you go to a beautiful home and you see a $10,000 curtain. Some people assume the curtains are installed. Some people assume fixtures like a TV or surround sound systems involved, right? If you go to a beautiful house in Hinsdale that happened a couple of weeks ago, it's a $3 million purchase, $1.9 million purchase from the people from Costco. They assumed that the $20,000 speaker system was part of the transaction, and it was not. So these are things that you have to catch and notify. So personal property is number 1, what we're looking at. Number 2, if there's an association, such as a condo or townhome, it is very important that we review the condo docs. It's required both on the lending side and our side. The statute is called Illinois Condominium Act 22.1. It's an overview of what the condo is saying. We're looking for 5 things. First, are there any pending special assessments? Is there anything coming up in the next 6 months to a year, like your scenario in that beautiful condo in Lakeview? Are we looking at, we don't want to put the buyers in and 4 months down the line they have a $3,000 bill for the condo roof, right? We got to make sure all the financials are kosher or anticipated. You guys are aware of it. Number 2, our biggest requirement is pet rules. We do over 1,000 closings annually. We have seen so much of this. I just did a closing the other day. The pet limit on the condo building was 50 pounds, and her German Shepherd was 74 pounds. What am I going to do? Tell the lady not to give away the dog at the time of closing? So those are very, very important. The types of pets, right? I had a lady with 3 cats, a turtle. So the pet rules are very, very important. Another situation, rules and regulations, right? Some people want to Airbnb. Some people want to do that. By the way, Chicago Airbnb is not allowed. Just let me put that out there. But we got to make sure the rules and regulations are fulfilling the intent of the consumer. So that's another topic we look at. And finally, we're looking and advising on parking and storage, right? When you buy a condominium, we don't know if the parking is assigned, which means it's free and designated to you, or is the parking a separate parcel, a separate real estate deal? And there's a deal that we're working on that we're still figuring that out. So those are empirical things that we look for. Again, biggest advice is make sure you select a team that does real estate continuously, and that's the main point of attorney review.
Absolutely. Before I bring Brian up here to talk about the inspection, I really want to hit on the point that you just said. If you look on that sign over there, it says real estate attorney. I had a deal last year where my seller wrote his will with the attorney. And so he was like, oh, here's my attorney, he can do the deal, no problem, whatever. Almost killed the deal because he missed extending the contingency. And I told him right away, look, if you want to do this, go to Imran, save the deal, and I'll never recommend anyone else after that. You guys save that deal. His team is amazing. Julia's amazing. Everyone, you have all that, like, best real estate attorney team in the city, hands down.
Thank you.
And I worked with a few attorneys, and just that deal right there, that saved me. And he did 2 other transactions after that. So I appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. Brian, if you could come up here. Brian is a licensed home inspector. I'm going to let him take over and talk about the home inspection process for a little bit. Come on over here.
Thank you. I'm going to be pretty brief. I just wanted to go over the good home inspection. Is going to provide you the critical information about the condition of the home and the systems of the home. Hey, how you doing? It's going to explain what costs are going to occur over time, like is your HVAC going to last another 10 years? Can you expect to replace it in 5 years? Or is there anything that you're going to need to immediately have taken care of? The home inspection is going to be of the visible and readily accessible parts of the house. No one's going to be cutting any holes in any walls or doing anything like that. You're paying for the service, but you're also paying for a product, and the product is the report. So it's very critical to get that in on time for the attorney reviews. So getting a good home inspector is not going to be 3 or 4 days behind on the report, and getting it to you right away is really important. The main purpose of the inspection is simply to inform and educate you about the property that you're about to buy. It's a huge purchase. You're going to want to know, it kind of gives you like a maintenance list, of a to-do list, because every house has that. It's going to be, oh, I have to take care of the dryer vent, or I got to take care of this, I have to take care of that. And it's going to give you things to do around the house, and also it can, sometimes if you might need a new roof or you might need something done, it gives you some negotiation power with your attorneys and with your real estate agents. So that's pretty much it for me.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yeah, following up on that, we actually had a deal recently where Brian checked the roof and it needed some work, and we were able to negotiate in the attorney review a $5,000 credit for that. Whereas if you didn't do the inspection, it looked good from the outside. I wouldn't have noticed anything, but by getting a licensed home inspector in there, we were able to see a problem, and then an attorney review solve that problem and get that $5,000 credit. Where if you didn't do that, after you buy the home, you notice that you're out $5,000. No one wants that.
I think it's really important for you guys to be there during the inspection too.
Highly recommend that. Because then any questions you have, because maybe when you see the home, you're just like, oh, that looks a little off, but you're not sure. And even some things you don't recognize. And every inspection is going to turn something up. I don't want you to get scared. Every inspection report will turn, on a new construction, things will come up. And this is important for you to know, because this is probably the biggest transaction of your life. So you want to have that peace of mind more than anything else. After the inspection, all that's negotiated, the attorney review signed off on, this deal is almost done. And you've just got to talk to Alex to get it finally done.
Absolutely. So as you can see, the submit loan application, step 7, that's actually really many steps before. As soon as you go under contract, we're talking the next day, within 2 days, because most likely your closing date is 30 to 45 days away, okay? We close deals in about 3 or 4 weeks. We work very quickly, but at the same time, this part is pretty simple in my opinion, because we've gone through the pre-approval process, we've discussed your comfortable monthly mortgage payment, we've communicated while you're submitting the offer, you're checking what the monthly mortgage payment is, so we're in contact, right? So as soon as you go under contract and we get the official contract from John, we schedule a call and then collect any documents that are needed that are outdated, and then discuss the rate lock, discuss the payment, discuss what term are we doing, and then submit the loan into underwriting. Just to be clear, The loan does go through underwriting twice. The first time it goes through underwriting, I apologize. The first time it goes through underwriting is the underwriter is checking for you personally, your income, your credit, and your cash. Do you qualify for those things? Okay? Then you are conditionally approved. Once you're conditionally approved, the underwriter is going to request any other documents that are needed, along with third-party items. What are third-party items? Appraisal, which is extremely important. Title, we're getting the official title from the seller to the buyer via Imran. And then we're also waiting for the condo questionnaire if you're buying a condo. Because we want to make sure, excuse my language, you're not buying into a shitty association. And that's what Imran is doing as well. We want to make sure there's no special assessments, as he mentioned. We want to make sure it's a healthy budget that you're walking into, okay? And then after that, we have a mortgage contingency date. So mortgage contingency date, I'll let Imran talk about this for a little bit as well, but it is extremely important to you as the buyer. In a nutshell, it protects your earnest money, okay? Your earnest money is your financial commitment you give to the seller as a financial commitment saying, yes, I'm moving forward with this deal, right? The mortgage contingency date is an extremely important date for us, the lender, to have what's called a clear to close, meaning it's gone through underwriting, we got appraisal, we got title, we got condo docs, we got everything. The deal's closed by this date. Usually the mortgage contingency date is 1 to 2 weeks prior to close, depending how far close out. Anything you want to add to that?
Great question. So mortgage contingency, what we're looking for is we usually chime in to see where the loan is kind of standing, right? We ask for what are the conditions remaining. So if we see a lot of items that are pending, we might ask for a couple more days. If there's probably 1 or 2 items, we might just ask for a day or so. So that's that. It's very important. The burden and obligation is on the lawyer, your attorney, to extend that. It's not on anyone else. With technology today, it should be artificial. It does automatically extend, but it's very important. Probably our third or second largest contingency to be careful for.
Yeah. And it's very common to move contingency date, not by good lenders like myself, because we achieve the clear to close, but sometimes there are issues with the inspection report, right? There's things that get held up where the buyer and seller are not on the same page, where us as the lender, we're kind of waiting there, sitting there, waiting. There's nothing we could do. We have to extend the mortgage contingency date. And that's perfectly fine because the buyers or sellers are still negotiating over certain inspection issues.
That is pretty common, actually,
Very
as long
common.
as people are communicating. And that's why it's important to have, a lender and an attorney that do communicate proactively.
Yep, absolutely. And then once you do receive the clear to close, the day before or the day of closing, you do an extremely important step that John will go through.
Yeah, so we're going to do the final walkthrough. This is very important to do because anything that was negotiated during the attorney review, we want to make sure that they did. Let's say, for example, they agreed to fix something or replace a refrigerator. We want to make sure that they did that. You want to make sure when they moved out, they didn't scratch the walls or scuff the floors or anything like that. They didn't trash the place. They didn't have a rave there the night before. So we got to make sure the condition is right because once you close, you're stuck with it. So it's very, very important. I actually had a final walkthrough. We went through, we tested the air conditioning. During the inspection, it worked, but on that day, it just magically stopped working. So guess what? Got a $5,000 credit. Okay, so it's a very, very important step. And you check everything, run the water, check the appliances, just everything, make sure it's in the condition that it should be. Because when you get to closing, which I'll let Imran talk a little bit about.
This is where we shine, we attend every closing. It's where we call this like an opera, right? An opera takes years or months of performance and prep, and we go there and close the deal, and it should be smooth. Wires are usually in. Number one feedback is wire fraud is very prevalent in our industry. People mimic us. Never wire money until specifically calling a firm, a law firm, title company, or a lender. Never wire money. And so we'll talk about your funds. The most important document we're going to go through is your settlement statement. It's a debit and credit of all your charges. Very simple. We have the contract section done by John. We have the lender section, we have the title company section, and we have the attorney section. So you have debits and credits. You're going to talk about a deed. A deed transfers title, so from the seller to the buyer. And we're going to have a mortgage to protect their interest, the bank's interest, and that attaches as a lien. So pretty straightforward, should be not more than an hour. They have an unbelievable feature called Flash Close. We're very tech-driven here. Their company, Guaranteed Rate, provides flash closing, so you can sign mostly 90% of the packet online. And God bless you guys. And awesome. Then we can just talk about important things, money. That's what I like to talk about at the table, money, right? So that's
this
what
is true.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So only thing to add on my end is, as Imran mentioned, we do have flash close. We send all the documents to you where you could literally start signing them at midnight, the day of closing. And then obviously any questions, you reach out to Imran. It makes the closing much smoother, and about 45 minutes to an hour, where they used to be, what, hour and a half, 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours with issues, right?
I think, so what I was saying, Guarantee Rate is probably one of 3 companies out of 1,000 that has flash closing. There are still people that are printing 200 to 300 page packets, so kudos to you guys.
We're saving the trees.
For modernizing the industry.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so.
And just a heads up, closing is kind of anticlimactic. It's, you sign a bunch of papers and then some random person walks in and is like, hey, it's funded, and you kind of like look around like, hey, right? And so.
But if you have a great team like us, it's pretty.
It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, Alex will bring a bottle of champagne, I think. So, yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. And I want to emphasize it's a great team, perfect mix of tech and human.
Correct.
Because you get the tech to streamline things, but that human touch. I've seen Imran, Julia from Arc Law just sit through in every line, go through it, any question that you have, and you know, if it's your first time buying, that's invaluable to understand exactly what you're signing, every single line. So
just to put, thank you. So attorney fees are flat fees. That's the base market industry. You shouldn't pay an attorney fee out of pocket. It's included in the closing cost. It's not like you're writing us a check. It's built usually most of the time into the closing cost. I forgot the topic I was on top of.
Well, that's a great point, because $700 right up front, or $700 spread over 30 years is like pennies a day, if that.
Yeah. All right, we'll come back to it.
All right, so next up, your closing expenses.
Yeah, so let me walk you through this. So what I always estimate is about 2% of your purchase price. There's not a lot, but a handful of closing costs that we don't control. For example, title fees. Okay, the seller's attorney actually picks the title company you close at, and every title company has different fees. So that's one, and that's here. But home inspection, $300 to $700. How much you charge?
I think it depends on the size of the home as well, like a
That's a good range.
condo or a 3-unit
That's a great range.
multifamily.
Appraisal, we're between $350 to $550 depending the size of the property. Homeowners insurance, it's a big range because condos usually $600 a year, single family homes usually $1,200 a year. It also depends, are you bundling, which company you're going with, you get to shop on your own for that one. Attorney fee, Imran just mentioned that. Lender fee, that's our flat fee of $1,440 for all the work we do. And then title, you see a big variance there. That's why we give you the 2%, because we don't control that. None of us really control that, the sellers do. And then just a heads up, if you are buying in the city of Chicago, I like to call it the welcome to city of Chicago tax, where you pay 0.75% of the purchase price. So if you're buying a $400,000 property, $3,000 goes to the city of Chicago. And that is part of the 2%. So. And that's really it. So for example, if you're putting 5% down, estimate to have 7%, right? 5% for, that was 9 minutes from the last one. As everyone knows with the iPhone, right? But if you're planning to put 5% down, right, estimate to have 7 ready to go. If you're putting 20% down, estimate to have about 22, and you should be all set.
Okay, and that brings us to Q&A.
Okay.
Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Bring it.
I have a question. So a lot of the guys and girls, men and women here, are not getting married lately. And I always have couples that are not married buying real estate.
Yes.
And they ask me, who should sign the loan and whose credit's gonna be used? Walk me through a scenario, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So marital status doesn't really matter on our end, on the lender's perspective, right? We just want to know what's your cash, credit, and income. Like, that's it, right? So if you're a brother and sister, married, civil, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. I have a lot of friends buying properties together, investments together. So at the end of the day, credit is a big driving force, right? So a lot of couples I see apply together. One person has credit score 780, the other one's at 660. I actually just recorded a video today that's going to go on social on Friday about the difference of credit scores, right? That's a huge difference. And the example I did today was $277 a month, right? A lot of money that adds up. So oftentimes what we do there is we look at, can the individual with a higher credit score qualify on their own? Because if they could qualify on their own, they're going to get a lower interest rate and they're going to get lower what's called PMI if they're putting less than 20% down, right? If it's not the case, if they don't qualify, I have a scenario like that as well, where one is good credit, the other one's poor, right? The rate sucks. It is what it is. Your credit is extremely important. So at the end of the day, for a lender, it doesn't matter what your relationship status is. It's more of how much money do you have for a down payment? What's your credit score? What do you do for a living, for income? Can you qualify for a loan? Let's talk about your options.
Yeah, I've seen a little bit of that. Last year I had a deal where there was a couple that was going to get married and the mother wanted her to buy it in her name only because she had good credit before they got married. I've also read an article earlier today about two women that bought a multifamily together and they lived together and rented out the other units. I can share that on social too. Yeah, exactly. I've heard about friends, maybe one really wants to buy and one is comfortable just making a monthly payment. So one buys a place and the other one just rents it, one of the units or one of the rooms in the apartment as well. So there's all types of complex situations because, life is complicated. So you just got to pick and choose what makes the most sense for you. Great question. Any questions from the audience? Yes, sir.
For the PMI, let's say you put down 5 or 10%, does it go away once you hit 20% after X amount of payments?
Yes and no. So I don't like this rule, and I don't control it obviously. And I was kind of like, ugh, really? When I found out. So I've always been taught once you get to 20%, your PMI goes away. That's not true. Once you get to 22% equity, your PMI automatically goes away. But what I found is once you get to 20% equity in your home, right, loan to value, you could call the bank and say, I'm at 80%, please remove my PMI. And they have to. But automatically it comes off at 22. So a lot of people don't know that and they're paying an extra year or two of PMI for no reason.
Yeah, I've done that before, yeah.
So,
Actually, a mortgage broker from your company told me that. So I had it on my calendar, he's like, oh, just make sure that on such and such day you call up. But I was fortunate enough where I did that equity amount prior to that, so I didn't even have it. I just deleted it in my calendar.
yeah.
It was guaranteed rate.
Yeah, there's a lot of individuals that bought in 2019 with 5% down, and I refinanced them last year with home prices going up so much that they're over 20% equity.
Wow.
And the PMI went away. And these are like $300,000-$400,000 home. Like I mentioned earlier, I put 10% down on my home. I'm in the process, you could actually call the lender, right, and ask them to reappraise your home. So I bought 18 months ago, my home value has gone up like crazy, just like majority of homes, right? So I'm just getting it reappraised at a higher value, my PMI is gonna go away. And I don't have to refinance, right? So I don't make money on that, but I'm helping, right? And that's the goal there. So it just depends on your scenario. Great question. Anyone else? We're back to drinking and eating. And questions.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah,
For the 2 years of like having tax returns,
yes.
if you're self-employed, I talked to somebody else before, like 6 months ago, saying if as long as you're in the same industry, like you work for somebody like being a dentist, and you open up your own dentist office for only 1 year, does that count? I've heard like if you have that 1 year self-employed doing the same thing, that counts.
It depends. Every scenario is different. A lot of times we can use 1 year of tax return if you do have a history, but also a lot of times, like say COVID, right? 2020 for a lot of self-employed individuals was a bad year, right? 2021 was a great year. We could use 1 year of tax returns, so 2021, if you've been in business for 5 years or longer,
Okay.
right? In regard to what you're mentioning, it's on a case-by-case basis. So we have to do some due diligence and look, okay, let's see some pay stubs, let's see a W-2, let's see some history there. Okay, it lines up, okay, we could use 1 year of tax returns.
For sure.
So, great question.
Thank you.
Actually, I had a question. When you close, do you have to start paying the loan right away, or do you get?
That is a great question.
Yes,
So,
it is.
any month you close in, right? We're in March. Say you close today, March 23rd. There is no payment in April. You skip the payment, right? And your amortization schedule starts May 1st. So if you have a 30-year mortgage, 360 months, your first payment of 360 months would start May 1st. So if you closed in May, you skip June, your first payment's July. If you closed in December, you skip January, your first payment's February. Does not matter if you close on the 1st of the month or the 28th, 30th, or 31st of the month. You always skip the following month.
So does that mean it would be advantageous to close earlier in the month? Let's say April 1st, then you wouldn't have to pay until June 1st, almost 2 months of not making a payment.
Yes and no, it's a double-edged sword because there's something called prepaid interest. Prepaid interest is what you pay interest only on the month you close. So if you close May 23rd, however many days today plus all the days remaining, I think that's 8, 9, right? You have to pay days of interest, so only interest. So if you're closing on the 1st, your days of interest is gonna be more like 1,500, 2,000, 2,500, which is close to the payment. So it is advantageous, but to each their own. It kind of depends. And the seller kind of drives that a little bit more too, especially in this market, right?
Is that for every lender or just guaranteed rate?
What's that?
You skip the first payment?
Oh, everyone, yeah, that's how more. And has anyone seen the movie The Big Short? It's a great, please go watch it to get educated on this, like especially the crash of 2008, what happened. It's a great movie, it's a funny movie, it explains it in layman's terms. Before I got in the business, I watched it, it was amazing. But to answer your question, the reason that we skip a month, because not all mortgages, any conforming loan mortgage, right? Loan amount 647,200 and under is called a conforming loan. Those loans are sold in what's called the secondary market as mortgage-backed securities. So it takes time to sell those, right? So guaranteed rate does your loan. Who services your loan now? It's a great book.
I don't even know.
Not guaranteed rate, right?
New res or something.
Exactly, right? So your mortgage gets sold to what's called a servicer, and they service your mortgage. All it is who you're paying the mortgage to, but it's industry-wide, to answer your question. Great question.
Excellent.
Anyone else? Back to drinks?
So guys,
Sure.
we are here as resources.
Yeah,
So
feel free to
anytime,
come
take
talk
our
to us.
cards and ask us questions, text us, call us, email us, we're all accessible. Use us as a resource, both for your friends and your personal.
Absolutely. Yeah, you had a question, sorry.
Sure, I was about to ask, like, the numbers what you showed, is it for only first time buyers, or if I want to start investing in a second property, will the numbers change?
Minutes. I'm done, I stopped it, I didn't snooze it.
Don't bill us.
Yeah, you can't answer that question now.
Is it done for what? Second?
Sorry, so the answer, what I showed you there is first-time home buyer, or excuse me, not first-time home buyer, owner occupied.
Okay.
What that means is you have to live in the property.
Yes.
Investment, okay, if you're buying investment property, minimum is 20% down.
Oh,
So you're not living in the property. Yeah, great question. And rates are higher too with investments compared to owner occupied. Usually about half to a full percent higher.
What if you buy, live in it for a year and then want to rent it out?
Owner occupied.
Yeah.
That's house hacking 101, do it all
Yes,
day.
sir.
Highly recommend it. Anyone out here, please, if you have the funds, talk to John about this, get educated. I won't
House hacking.
point on the person here, but there's a particular client we're dealing with, don't want to put him in the spotlight. He's buying multi-unit, right? Buy a I'm 38 years old, if I could go back to my 25-year-old self and say, buy a multi-unit, I would have, 100%. You buy a 3-unit building, you live in one of the units, you rent out the other 2, right? They pay majority of your mortgage, and after 1 year, you only have to live there 1 year, move out, go to your next property, you got a 3-unit as an investment.
And if you're hardcore, rent out the bedrooms. If you have roommates, instead
That's too much
of renting an apartment for you,
We
but
like our space.
I like my space.
you could actually make
No,
money.
my room.
Make money.
All my rooms.
Instead of just living for free.
But true. I actually have a client that's doing that. That's oh, that's too much for me, but I have a client literally buying, he's a teacher, right? He's legit a teacher.
Yep.
Bought a $350,000 condo and now is gonna rent it out and then he's moving to another $400,000 condo, but he's renting out the rooms.
Yep.
He's hustling all day, perfectly fine.
Every day I'm hustling.
We should play that song.
We should. Any other questions?
Yes.
The difference on the interest rate and the APR, can you just give more clarity into that APR?
APR, there's a lot of variables in it. One of the ones is prepaid interest and one is title fees.
Okay.
We don't control title fees, so I never look at APR because title fees is part of that and we're giving an estimate.
So, if I ask for calculative purposes, like the closing cost, the property cost plus the other additional closing cost, after adding all those, then how should I divide it by? Divide it by 360 or
So
how do I?
our man here is under contract, right?
Yes, he is.
You're not gonna know your true closing costs
Okay.
until the day of closing or maybe the day before.
Okay,
Everything right now for majority is estimates
okay,
because we don't control it.
okay,
Right? As an attorney, he's there, like, so you close at a title company, right? The lender, we send all our figures to the title company. The seller sends their figures to the title company, and there's a closer at the title that puts all these figures together.
okay,
Some title companies are great, some are not so great and they're behind. So some will work on deals 3 days before, some work on deals the day of,
okay.
And typically the seller chooses the title.
All the time.
all the
All the
time.
time.
I
Yep.
love how-
100%. The seller's attorney picks the title company,
Yep.
they close it. So that's why it's a lot of estimates, that's why I don't look at APR, because we don't know the true APR until literally the day you close.
Maybe following up on that, for the estimates to the actual cost, is it generally lower, higher?
Lower, we always give high, yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
one thing to keep in mind. When you do get your quotes,
Yeah,
every time?
yeah.
Every time it comes in
Always.
lower. So that's always, when you get the closing table, oh, that's less than I was budgeting for? Awesome.
Like for title fees, we run an estimate, right? Whatever number we give you is worst case scenario. So it has to be lower. If it comes in higher, the lender has to pay the difference.
Yep.
So it's a true estimate.
Okay.
I imagine you don't like paying the difference.
I've never had it happen, so.
There we go. The way it should be.
Yeah, it's always smooth.
All right.
Cool. Any other questions? Awesome. Well, thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it. And then obviously we're gonna stick around for any personal questions and go from there.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone.